Good morning. Ibu Mari Apakamistu, SDSN Leadership Council, John Thwaites, Mr. John Thwaites, Dr. Putra Pratama from the Ministry of Environment and Forestry, Sherry, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Today we are very honored, and I'm very honored actually, to be amongst you, to welcome you for the Partnership for Solutions SDSN Regional Workshop on priorities and pathways for sustainable energy and deep decarbonization in Indonesia. The SDSN Network, Chapters for Indonesia, is bringing together leaders and experts from academia, government, business, and civil society to discuss Indonesia's future energy needs, identify how they can be met in line with decarbonizing the energy system to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and sustainable development, and to develop plans for collaborative solutions initiatives. To tell you more about it, I'm sure you will have an impressive lineup of speakers for today. But to start that off, can I first of all invite Ibu Maria Apakamistu, Dr. Putra Pratama, John Thwaites, and Pak Yatna to have their seats on the stage. First of all, I'd like to invite Ibu Maria Apakamistu to give her welcoming speech. She needs no introduction, basically, as we know, and our beloved Ibu Mari, as our wonderful Minister for Tourism and Creative Economy, and of course, Minister of Trade. She is the SDSN Leadership Council, part of the SDSN Leadership Council, and Professor of Economics at the University of Indonesia. Ibu Mari.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Professor John Thwaites, Pak Putra, Pak Bambang, Sherry, and all members of the SDSN Indonesia, and also from other parts of the world, and all participants. It's a pleasure for me to welcome you this morning to the SDSN regional workshop on priorities and pathways for sustainable energy and decarbonization in Indonesia. Some of you are quite familiar with SDSN, some of you probably say, what is this, another alphabet soup, SDSN, what is this? Sustainable Development Solutions Network that comes from the UN was something that was started in 2011-2012 as part of the process towards the Sustainable Development Goals to replace the Millennium Development Goals. And it is not necessarily part of the UN, but it is supporting the UN, giving input to Ban Ki-moon, Secretary General Ban Ki-moon, and headed by Jeffrey Sachs. And Sherry Nursalim and myself, we are members of the Leadership Council, and so of John Thwaites also. I hope I pronounced your name right. And we have started a couple of things, and today is the continuation of those couple of things. Let me just brief you on that to show that this is a continuation of a process, a very important process. And the key word is solutions, because you can notice that it is Sustainable Development Solutions Network. And what we have done in Indonesia is to set up the Indonesia chapter of the SDSN. We have 25 institutions, including Pak Yatna as the coordinator, including UI and other institutions. 12 of them are represented today. And we also started the regional hub, Southeast Asia hub of the SDSN last year in Bali. And we had our first international meeting last year in Bali, which was, I think, quite successful. We had piggyback on APEC. We had 4 leaders speak at the meeting, including our own president at the time, President Susilo Bambang Yudhoyono, who launched the Southeast Asia SDSN. And we had, a range of topics on the first day, and on the second day, call it a bias, we focused on tourism. We are happy to report that with tourism, with Pak Bambang from forestry and others, 5 ministries, including forestry, as well as forestry, and then now you are one, forestry and environment. Who else is that? Internal affairs, Dalam Negeri, and KKP, the marine affairs. They have started forum for sustainable tourism, communication and development, including with all the stakeholders. And so today we hope to see more continuation of such fora, and it is about finding solutions. So today we have invited government, experts, and private sector with the idea of finding solutions. This time we're focusing on energy and transportation use. And we hope that with the idea of the network is really sharing expertise, sharing ideas, sharing pilots that can be replicated. And we are really hopeful that today's workshop continuing tomorrow will result in some solutions like what we are beginning to see, hopefully in tourism. We also hope to see in energy and transportation. So I will keep my remarks brief because we really want to get the show going. Thank you all of you for coming and participating, and we are really looking forward to a lively discussion, a lively exchange of views and ideas and solutions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Kumari. Can I now invite Professor John Waits to the podium? A little bit about Professor John Waits. He's a professor fellow at Monash University and chair of Climate Wars Australia and Monash Sustainability Institute. He also chairs the Australian Building Codes Board, the Peter Collins Water Environment Trust, and is the director of the Australian Green Building Trust.
Well, thank you very much, and to Ibu Murray, to Dr. Patura Kutuman, to our great leader and inspirer, Sherry Neslim, and to Pat Yatna. It is a great honour and pleasure to be part of this SDSN joint workshop on partnerships for solutions. And we're going to be focusing on energy and decarbonisation. But I'd like to start by saying that this workshop is itself a great example of partnerships. It's been developed by the Sustainable Development Solutions Network for Southeast Asia and Indonesia, working with the Sustainable Development Solutions Network for Australia Pacific. It's also co-hosted, and this is very significant, co-hosted by the Ministry of Environment and Forestry. And we're very grateful to the Ministry for being a co-host. As well as government, though, we have the University of Indonesia, the UID Forum, Monash University, where I come from, and the Carbon War Room. All have been involved. And finally, I should mention the sponsorships, the GT Group, the Australia Indonesia Centre, and the Harold Mitchell Foundation. And all of these different organisations have come together with a goal of finding solutions to what are major challenges in sustainable development. And that was the reason, as Ibu Murray said, behind the establishment of the Sustainable Development Solutions Network, to mobilise scientists, technology, business and government to find solutions to these big challenges. And that's what it's all about. It's about solutions, and I know what we're very keen to see in the next 2 days is some practical solutions. And there is no bigger challenge we face than how we provide energy for growth and prosperity, while at the same time avoiding dangerous climate change, which threatens that very prosperity. And this is the focus of the workshop. It's certainly a challenge we face in Australia, and it's a challenge faced here in Indonesia. And together, by collaboration, we can come up with practical solutions. It's also a very opportune time for the workshop with a new government here in Indonesia. And of course, next year, 2 big decisions, the Sustainable Development Goals and the global agreement on climate change post-2020. So we're leading into what is a very important year. I think this workshop will play an important role in that. Can I conclude by saying it's a great honour for all the Australian participants, and I know there are people from all around Australia who have come to be here with our Indonesian colleagues to help find solutions. And finally, I'd like to especially thank those who worked so hard to put this together, Sherry and her team, Yatna, and of course to thank Ibu Murray very much for leading the SDSN here in Indonesia. Thank you.
And of course, I'd like to now call upon Pak Yatna to set the scene for us. Pak Yatna, of course, is the chairman of the Research Center on Climate Change, University of Indonesia, and SDSN Indonesia chairman. Pak Yatna.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Selamat pagi, Bapak dan Ibu sekalian. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. This morning, I guess, and everybody, I have to set the scene what we are going to achieve today. So let me bring to the presentation here. Next, our SDSN Indonesia consists of 25 organizations, including universities, NGOs, business, and also the academia. And it was launched by the President last year, as Bu Mary mentioned about during the APEC. Next, let me tell you about this to introduce you to the energy and to the greenhouse house emission. And as you can see that Indonesia, behind that Indonesia is full of that emission, one of the fourth biggest emission in the world. Most of this is coming from forestry and buildings and so on. But the next slide, you can see that this is the Indonesian commitment from the President, from the Indonesian government, to reduce the emission up to 26%. But with the help of the international donors assistance, we're going to reduce and cut to 41%. The next is really, this is the profile of this emission. So if you can see that the emission is the energy and transportation is going up, as you can predict, but the forestry and peat is still stand there. By 2020, even bigger. So the energy and transportation is going to be one that is going to be concerned for Indonesia during, if you want to making the decarbonization. The next is, you can see that this is here is the energy Indonesia balance. If you look at this, the energy 2006, 2010, and 2015. You can see the coal is being high up and increased. And to make this the decarbonization, of course, we need to have the green coal, or maybe we have to have the CCS, capture the energies, decarbonize most of the coal. The next, here is the main sectors for the solution. One of the, of course, renewable energy that we're going to be talking, I think this today and tomorrow. We're going to have talking about the solar, the geothermal, the wave, biogas, and fuel cell. So hopefully that we can have a discussion today. In one of those, also we're going to have the green building, for example, in the urban, Umari will chair about the green retrofit for energy and water efficiency, and residual and commercial assessment, and so on and so on. We're going to discuss in the breakout group about this green transportation. As Indonesia is an archipelagic country, of course, it's going to be very important to have the alternative fuel in the islands. For example, we have 17,000 islands. That is really going to be important. And number 4 is water management. That may not be discussed in this today. But also the 6th one is the land management. So besides sustainable energy, next is going to be going to be the deep decarbonization initiative that Professor John White already mentioned about that. Basically, here is what that's the deep decarbonization is the initiative, collaborative initiative to understand every countries to transition themselves to low carbon economy. So we're trying to get this limiting the increase of the global means of the 2 degrees, less than 2 degrees of the global warming. The next is really talking about the need output from the workshop. I think the workshop we're trying to identify what the economically, socially, and environmentally sustainable low carbon future for Indonesia. I think this time we're going to focus for Indonesia. And then how can we progress toward achieving its goals and targets? And the SDGs in energy and decarbonization align with the Indonesian needs. Existing and developing energy suitable for Indonesia. And I think we also like to have concrete ideas of the SDSN just to facilitate the transition towards sustainable energy in Indonesia. We're going to see any possible collaborative research or demonstration plots or anything that related to the planning or maybe other thing that's possible for solution. And also for today and tomorrow we're going to see this morning and tomorrow is the success story of we can hear after this success story of many initiatives. Also, we're going to see the energy outlook for Indonesia, and fortunately there will be Director PLN, the Indonesian Energy. Also, the donor from the World Bank and many others is coming to our workshop. And in the afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to divide it and break out the groups to 5, including the renewable energy, the urban and energy, transportation, deep decarbonization, and sustainable tourism and energy. And then tomorrow also we're going to have the key sectors in energy discussing and the move forward for Indonesia. Ladies and gentlemen, so next is the participants. Hopefully, unfortunately, we have 110, maybe more, coming. Participants from Indonesia, Singapore, Malaysia, Cambodia, UK, China, Netherlands. That's the one that we recorded. And the government delegation from Ministry of Environment and Forestry, Ministry of Transportation, Ministry of Tourism, Ministry of Finance, Governor of Jakarta is coming this afternoon, and also the several Bupati and Mayor, and also civil society, academician, and many others. So, next is really these partners. Thank you very much for all this effort from the partners. You can see the partners and also the sponsor. I'm really happy that this is really happened. And good luck with the workshop. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Hayatna. And now I invite Dr. Putra Pratama, who will be speaking on behalf of Ibu Siti Nurbaya, the Minister of Environment and Forestry of the Republic of Indonesia.
Thank you very much, Ibu Ima. Very good morning, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished speakers and participants. I would like to start with by conveying an apology from our Minister, Ibu Siti Nurbaya, who is not able to be here with us this morning, and she promised to will be here tomorrow afternoon. Right now, I believe she is hovering somewhere in Sumatra with our President for Belusukan. And I will read written remarks from her. It is only 2 pages, and I guess the 5 minutes will do it. So please allow me to use maybe a couple of seconds for conveying my own words. I personally very delightful this morning for one reason, for many reasons. One of it is because I remember a great person once told me, "Son, in living your life, please try as much as you can to be part of solutions, not part of problem." So I'm really delightful. Finally, I'm now in a meeting seeking for solution for our problem. I don't know about you all, but me, myself, being a forester by training and working for the Ministry of Forestry for decades, looking at the data presented by Yatna and the degradation of our forests, our environments, so I can help feeling that I'm part of the problem. So I hope I can be part of the solution the rest of my life. So I'm going to read the remark from our minister. Excellencies, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, it is a great honor for me to welcome you all to this regional workshop of Partnership for Solution, which is organized jointly by a good cooperation between Sustainable Development Solution Network and its several partners and sponsors. I am convinced this event is of particular importance because, first of all, sustainable development is a universal issue. It is a real concern and a common objective of the whole world. For Indonesia, an emerging middle-income country and a growing economy, which is fortunate to be endowed with various natural resources, but at the same time must deal with a large population, sustainable development is a must. Only with sustainable development, this country will really transform its natural resources to the welfare of its people. I therefore would like to express our appreciation that this regional workshop is convened here in Jakarta. More than that, Indonesia is grateful for the selection of Indonesia to be the ASEAN regional hub of SDSN, which was launched last year during the APEC conference in Bali. I can also ensure that the Ministry of Environment and Forestry welcome the opportunity to partner with the regional SDSN in helping this country finding ways, solution toward realizing sustainable development. Ladies and gentlemen, I was informed that this workshop aims to explore the solution that would support a cleaner and more sustainable energy with existing technologies that are already successfully applied both within Indonesia and internationally. Expert and solution providers from ASEAN region, Australia, as well as China and other countries mentioned previously by Dr. Yatna, United States, Europe, gathered here to share ideas, technologies, and best practices. Different aspects of sustainable energy and deep decarbonization will be discussed, including transportation, urban and island sustainability, and sustainable tourism and renewables. I really hope Indonesia will be able to tap and benefit from this excellent gathering of research persons contributing to the long-run solution of our energy problems. The focus on sustainable energy and decarbonization cannot be more timely. As you are all aware of, energy has become a constant stigma to Indonesia. A significant part of the national budget must be dedicated for fuel subsidies, creating a great hindrance to the country's development. For that reason, President Joko Widodo has just taken a bold and brave policy on reducing the gargantuan fuel subsidies that stood up to $27 billion US dollars, disregarding his popularity risk. But eliminating subsidies is one way. The real long-run solution is conversion to sustainable energy, of which Indonesia is having huge resources. Decarbonization is also a big issue. Indonesia is committed to deep decarbonization and to reduce CO2 emissions as part of a global effort to stay within the internationally agreed 2 degrees centigrade. To that end, Indonesia has formally committed to reduce its CO2 emissions by 26% of the 2020 business as usual level. Also, the inclusion of island sustainability in the discussion is also very appropriate because, as mentioned previously, Indonesia is the largest archipelago, and that geographical situation, to some extent, has been among the chief causes of inefficient and high cost economy. The population in many small islands frequently suffer economic inequality because of the huge difference they have to pay for energy. So development of small-scale local alternative energy is a possible solution to this issue. At the same time, we also target to address the urgent need of investment in the energy infrastructure, which includes energy supply, production, and transmission. Indonesia has taken strong steps to support small independent power producers with a dedicated framework. This delivers the necessary certainty to small independent power producers to develop and operate renewable energy installation. We therefore now see the need to attract long-term capital into these small-scale projects. We see a substantial demand for project finance debt and creative financial mechanisms to be made available to this sector. We therefore appreciate the initiative of international private sector investors to invest in Indonesia, including in small-scale renewable energy projects that are developed by local small to medium-scale enterprises. Ladies and gentlemen, finally, I would like to use the opportunity to once again convey our strongest support to SDSN and its partner, and the Ministry of Environment and Forestry stand ready to cooperate. So let us join our hands, and hearts, particularly in the region, to endorse partnership for solutions. So I was asked that the minister is supposed to declare this workshop is formally open, so let me do it on behalf of her. So with that, allow me to declare workshop on priorities and pathways for sustainable energy and deep decarbonization in Indonesia is obviously open. Thank you very much, Minister of Environment and Forestry, Dr. Siti Nurbaya.
Thank you very much, Pak Putra. Previously, when Pak Yaka set the scene, there was also another person that's supposed to also present to set the scene as well. However, could not be here with us today. However, there's a video. Amber Lovins, the Chairman and Chief Scientist of the Rocky Mountain Institute. So, if the video is ready.
Amber Lovins, talking to you from Rocky Mountain Institute in Old Snow, Colorado. I want to congratulate you and welcome you to the inaugural United Nations Global Initiative, SDSN and Indonesia Joint Workshop after the APEC launching in Indonesia. And I'm grateful to our host, the Honorable Minister of Environment and Forestry, Siti Nurbaya, and Leadership Council, Mari Pangestu, Sherry, and John. Let me make a few remarks that I hope will be helpful in your deliberations in your diverse working groups. And I'd like particularly to focus a moment on what we call integrative design that can often make very big energy savings cost less than small ones, and thus help to achieve your decarbonization goals, not at a cost but at a major profit and boost for Indonesian economic and social development. Because for decarbonization to promote and accelerate Indonesian development, needs a strong foundation of modern energy efficiency in every sector. And integrative design can turn diminishing returns to investments in efficiency into expanding returns. That is illustrated by this building from which I'm speaking to you, my own home and office. You can see behind me it's a banana farm. We've just harvested 6 more banana crops, except that I'm 2,200 meters up in the Rocky Mountains, where temperatures used to go as low as minus 44 Celsius, and this building has no furnace. It's just super insulated, passive solar, and a little bit cheaper to build that way because we saved more construction costs getting rid of the heating system than we paid for the super windows and super insulation and so on that eliminated the heating system. Now, we have been pursuing this notion in detail for the United States and China in a book called Reinventing Fire, published both for the US and in Chinese for the US, and then applied to China in a new study I'll mention in a moment. What we found in the United States is that including integrated design and advanced energy efficiency, the U.S. could have a 2.6-fold bigger economy by 2050, using no oil, no coal, no nuclear energy, a third less natural gas, tripled efficiency, quintupled renewables making up 3/4 of total supply, and that would be $5 trillion cheaper than business as usual. It would require no new inventions and no act of Congress, but could be led by business for profit. And the U.S. is, in fact, nicely on the track for that trajectory. In collaboration with the leading energy analytic and policy groups for China's National Development and Reform Commission, Rocky Mountain Institute and Lawrence Berkeley National Labs China Energy Group, are most of the way through a very rigorous version of that same analysis for China, using Chinese models, modeler data, examples, and ways of doing things. And we're finding that even after the enormous efficiency gains already made in China, China could have a 6-fold bigger economy in 2050, using about the same energy as today, getting about half that energy from carbon-free sources and reducing carbon and other air emissions by at least 60% compared with business as usual. And interestingly enough, China's coal use has been going down so far this year, despite over 7% annual economic growth. China is also a remarkable world leader in renewables. And for example, the past 2 years has made more wind power than nuclear energy. Last year alone, China added more solar power than the United States has added in the 60 years since we invented the technology. In 2012 alone, China added more electric generation from non-hydro renewables than from all fossil and nuclear sources combined, so that we're still bringing on more coal-fired plants ordered long ago, but they were running their coal plants a lot less, as well as retiring many of the older, less efficient and dirtier ones. And of course, China has already saved 3 gorges dam worth of electricity just by its efficiency standards for refrigerators and air conditioners. There's a long way to go in that department. And just the non-hydro renewables worldwide are getting over $250 billion investment every year, more than the total market cap of all the traded coal companies in the world. And adding over 80 gigawatts a year. Renewables are now over half the world capacity additions, and developing countries now dominate those additions. Why does this matter for Indonesia, with its talented and diligent people, its great development and energy needs? Well, because of the, among other things, the capital leverage that you get by doing the cheapest things first, notably modern energy efficiency. If you were to build a super window factory in Jakarta to let in light without heat for your new buildings, or an LED lighting factory, you would need about 1,000 times less capital than if you expanded, say, coal-fired power plants and grid. to deliver the same services in the traditionally inefficient way, and you would get your money back 10 times faster. Multiply intensity times velocity, you just got a 10,000-fold reduction in the capital required to deliver those increases in illumination and comfort. Well, that's for the power sector, which gobbles a quarter of the world's development capital. We can turn that sector from a net consumer of capital, really a black hole for capital, into a net exporter of capital to fund other development needs, of which Indonesia has so many. So think about that leverage, the most powerful macroeconomic lever for development that we know, based on modern energy efficiency. Think about the climate protection, the forest and rural regeneration that Dr. Engineer Willie Smits in Indonesia has demonstrated so well in several sites, with the world's best combination, I think, of ecological and economic and cultural restoration.